Go ahead and get started. Hello and welcome to Friday Flow. Thank you for joining us to kick off our weekend together. And as always, I'm hoping that we hear something, see something, or experience something that pricks our hearts and hopefully helps us acquire a new set of lenses so that we can see our world and the people in it differently. As always, let me know that you're here. Hey, Joe. Hi, Mark. Let us know that you're here. Please comment, ask questions. We want this to be interactive and we want us to be able to, like I said, acquire a new set of lenses so that we can see our world and the people in it differently. So I want to share with you that oftentimes we talk about success. I know that when we had our guest last week, it was amazing. She was able to achieve a level of success as a person as she's just growing in her relationship with God. But I want to talk to you about success and what it did for me this past week and what I thought about. And I'd love to hear your comments about it. You know, oftentimes when we think about success, we think about a goal, right? A goal that we're going to achieve. When someone asks us, well, how do you define success? It's usually about a goal or a thing that you've achieved. If someone asks you, well, are you successful? You may answer that you are, and it may be because you've achieved a certain status, or maybe you've obtained a house, a car, or something like that. If you don't feel like you've been successful, you may say, well, I'm not successful yet because I haven't achieved this status or obtained this car, house, or whatever it may be. Well, that kind of success is all about just kind of our flesh and just our humanly nature, and it's attached to some things. Whereas if we look at the way God defines success, it has nothing to do with things, right? It has everything to do with who we are becoming. And that is what really struck me this week that I want to share with you, right? Because if we think about the way God looks at success, He provides situations and circumstances and dynamics, and He orchestrates our life in such a way that we can grow and evolve into a greater version of ourselves. And in that, it has nothing to do with things. And so if someone were to say to me, well, Pam, do you feel that you're successful? And I would say, well, I try my best to be obedient. I try my best to treat people right. And so that has nothing to do with having written books or being able to do this and the other things that I could easily check off a list. And so there's this exercise that someone shared with me that I use often when I'm working with people. And that is the mirror exercise. And in the mirror exercise, you look at yourself. Every day you look at yourself in the mirror, but you're looking at yourself in the way of your hair, or you're looking at your skin, or maybe you're trying to decide whether you need to shave today. Maybe you're looking at your eyes and see if they're red or cloudy or whatever, but you're looking at very specific aspects of yourself. Well, in the mirror exercise, you actually look into your own eyes, very much how you look into the eyes of your child. When you're looking into the eyes of your child, you're looking to see that, they understand what you're saying. You're looking to make sure they know that you love them. You're looking to get some confirmation of something. Well, no different than looking into the eyes of your loved one or some family member, looking into the eyes of a dear friend. You're looking for something. You're looking deep into their eyes. Well, when you do the mirror exercise and you're looking into your eyes, that's very different. That's something that most people don't do. And so when this exercise is 2 minutes, the first minute is you're actually looking into your own eyes. That's not easy. That's not easy for most people to do. You're looking into your own eyes. And then for the second minute, you're actually saying things to yourself like, I love you. I'm proud of you. And you're asking yourself questions. Am I the kind of person that God has created me to be? And for some people, a lot of different things crop up in that exercise. And for me, something did come up, and it was something that was hurtful and something that someone had done. And I really had to be intentional about feeling love over that wrongdoing. And so I did the things that I need to do so that I can flow and overcome some things and feel love again. But that's something that I want to suggest to you today, to try that for yourself. Not just look at yourself in the mirror, but try to look into your own eyes. And so, why now? Success. Are we talking about success and going through this exercise in the midst of a pandemic when people don't feel very successful and people are struggling? Some people have lost jobs, businesses are closing, and just all kinds of very, very challenging things. Well, I bring this up today because you're home. Most of you are sheltering in place in your home, and you have the time to do that. Some time to take some stock into some things, some time to think about some things and to evaluate whether or not the way God is orchestrating your life, the situations and circumstances that He places you in, are you using them to grow and to evolve and to become the person that He's created you to be? And so, with that success, right, I want to bring our guest on. And I'm excited because it is our guest from last week. And the reason she is here is because not only have you asked, many of you called, many of you sent text messages, you had some questions, there was just some things that she just didn't get to finish to share, but also because it was just God's will that she come back and finish our conversation. So here she is. Hey, Lori.
Hi, Pam.
How are you?
I'm doing really good. Thank you. Thank
Well,
you for having me back. I'm glad I was able to reach, a few people, and I'm glad some people responded.
yes, they definitely did. It's been pretty powerful. It's been pretty wonderful. And
Mhm.
Laura, just to kind of pick up where we left off, you shared how you achieved sobriety, and you shared that a little bit of that journey and getting to that place, and it was just beautiful. You left us with some amazing nuggets. But can you just share with us what you, aside from achieving sobriety, what are you most proud of?
Well, good question. I'm proud of lots of things, and so in carry on with our conversation from last week. After you decide to get sober, a person who's struggled or having struggles in their life, and with anything, not just drugs and alcohol, but with any kind of problems, could be marital, could be any kind of issues. Um, you decide to make a change, and you've put yourself open. You've opened yourself up to making changes. Lots of things, lots of life. Now you face life, and now you have to face it without um, a crutch of sorts. So you kind of have to face it openly and with a lot of courage and strength. And um, I think the couple things I'm proud of. First of all, when I got sober at 21, I think I told you that. And when I got sober, I chose to go back to school, back to college. I had been in school, I'd started college, and but was doing really poorly. And I think I
But
shared with you
wait,
that.
wait, I back up a second. How'd you even get into college?
Oh yeah, it was so good point. So I think I shared with you that my grades in high school were not good. I skipped school. I mean, I was just a terrible student. Wasn't interested in school. Um, uh, and but back in 86 and 87, it wasn't hard to get into school. It wasn't the big thing that it is today to get into school. And I was living in a small town in Virginia, and I started out at a community college and was able to got in without any problem. I think it was $11 a credit hour. That's how cheap college was then.
Wow,
Anyway, I started
manageable.
school, but I was doing really bad at that time. I was still using and drinking, and so was not good in school at all. And my dad was paying for my school, but eventually said, "Look, if you're not gonna pass, because I was flunking out, I'm not gonna pay for you to go to school." And that was kind of the and then of course him saying get out I'm not going to substitute your lifestyle like this any longer. So that's when I chose to move to Texas. And when I went to Texas, um, I enrolled in a community college there at first, and eventually ended up enrolling at the University of Texas in Arlington, and was able to get into that school of two things. I had chosen to get sober, and when I applied there, I was sober, and I went through the state of Texas Rehabilitation Commission's program where they gave me grant money to get into school. Anyway, long story with all of that. Requirements where I had to stay sober. I had to go in for counseling and psychological testing every couple of months, and I had to maintain good grades. So that was my motivation. Plus, I was sober and I didn't really have anything else. I mean, that was it. I didn't know what I was going to do with my life, and so I was decided to go to school, and the only thing I knew how to do or knew that I liked to do was art. And so that's what I went to school for. So I got into their fine arts program. It took me 7 years, but I graduated. And after I graduated, I had my daughter. So I was proud of graduating. But really, after that, I decided to go back and get my master's. And I never felt like I was the smartest person. And when I went back to school to get my master's, to study for the GRE and to get into that program was really a difficult thing. And I studied really hard. I passed. I graduated with a 4.0 from graduate school. And that's
Wow.
probably the first thing I was proud of until I had my daughter. I had my
Oh,
daughter when I was 27. And then
wow.
I think at this point in my life, the thing I'm most proud of there is raising her sober. I think as a sober mom, she never saw me as a drunk mom. And
That's beautiful.
I'm probably most proud of that.
That is fantastic. So you got your degree in what now?
Oh, okay. So I got my first degree I got a Bachelor of Fine Arts, and I was a generalist study. So I studied everything. And then I've always loved kids. I've always loved working with kids. And so when I went back for my master's work, I went back I got a master in education as a reading specialist. I combined
That
those
is
two,
absolutely
and
fantastic.
now I'm an art teacher, and I just use books all the time. I incorporate reading and language arts and that's what I've done with my career and my life, and I love it. It's simply the best.
So when you were on your journey and just achieving sobriety during that time, did you ever see yourself with 2 degrees and loving what you do?
Never. I can tell you flat out, no. I did not graduate high school. I didn't think I was really, like I told you, I didn't feel very smart. I didn't do well in high school. But you know, I told you in the beginning, when I was drinking and using, I surrounded myself with people like that. And when I got sober, I surrounded my people that were sober and had goals in life. And I had lots of sponsors in AA that helped me to set goals and when I got down and things weren't going my way, they helped me to persevere and understand, that life is challenging sometimes and you've got to keep going. You've got to persevere.
Lori, not everybody's able to do that, right? So sometimes when you find yourself, especially if you have an addiction, people go
Mhm.
back to the same neighborhood, the same
Yeah.
place, and the same friends and all that. But
Yeah.
you didn't do that. So tell us a little bit about like why you didn't and how does God speak to you?
Okay. So that's a good question too. Yeah, life is going to come at you, period. And then in AA, they say this thing that we have this saying, it's called "you're on a pink cloud." It's when people first get sober and they're not drinking or using, they're like, everything is great, everything's wonderful. And then something hits their car, they get in a car accident or a house pay, they lose their job or something happens, life happens, life gets lifey. And all of a sudden, they're like, wait a minute, this isn't so much fun anymore because now they don't have anything to kind of fall back on. And what not everybody does it, but what I always turn to is because when I was in the AA rooms or when I was with reading from the book or whatever, that's where I found encouragement and hope. And I think that's the key word there is hope. Is so there's so much good things in the first 165 pages of the big book that
Can you stop there? Because last time we were together and we were talking,
yeah,
you mentioned the big book, and there were
right.
a couple of people that asked me what the big book is, and I really couldn't answer that question. So share with us, what is the big book that you referred to last time and this time?
Darn it, it's in my room. The
Okay,
big book is
that's
all
what
right,
it
show
is.
it to you. It's the big book is our book, just basically. Um, it's the book. When you come into AA, the first 164 pages are the meat of the book. It explains the 12 steps. It talks about Bill's story, it talks about alcoholism and addiction. It talks about how Bill Wilson, who's the founder of AA, how he got sober and he continued to relapse. And it talks about then how the steps, of our program, admitting your powerlessness, finding a higher power, what a higher power is all about. It's not necessarily God to everyone. Matter of fact, it's very non-religious, which is an attractive part of it, I think, is that we don't ask for money. You can throw $1 in the basket at every meeting to this day. 77 years later, you can, or even if you don't have any money, you don't put it in, but anybody's welcome. As long as you have a desire to not drink, you're welcome in that meeting. And the big book talks about that. And then the last chunk of the book, the last part of it, are stories from other people that you might relate to.
So testimonies?
What?
Testimonies?
Yeah, kind of like testimonies.
Okay.
Yeah, it's people's stories. And then if you go to speaker meetings, like I speak at speaker meetings all the time, and that's when people get up and tell their story. And a lot of people come into AA and they're already into their 40s, 50s, 60s, even, and they've lost their homes, their wives, their kids, everything like that. And my story is unique because I didn't lose any of that. I didn't have any of that. I simply did not want to drink or use drugs anymore. That's simply the whole reason I went in. And so once I started living that way, and life started to get challenging at times, as I was working a part-time job, trying to go to school, work a part-time job, work an AA program, and live. My folks weren't paying for my apartment. They weren't paying for anything. And it was a struggle at times. And, I would go into the meetings and there would be someone every single time. And that's true to this day, 30 something years later. I'll go into the meetings. There's somebody there that will share something with me that gives me hope, gives me courage, and makes me look at life a little bit differently. And I can get through this. If I just keep on and don't give up, and I talked about praying last time, and prayer is a big part of it. But faith, there's a saying in the book, faith without works is dead, and works without faith is dead. So I can pray all I want, but if I'm not willing to get off my butt and do the work that's required, that I think God wants me to do, then it's not going to happen. God's not going to come down and just hand me $1,000 every week so I can live. He gave me a gift, the gift of working with kids, an art ability, and patience with kids. I don't have a lot of patience with some things. I have a lot of patience where it comes to kids. And so I have to use those abilities, and that's what I do. And some people ask me, how did you know? I don't know. It just, as I prayed about things would happen. You know what I mean? Like when I moved to Utah, I didn't have a job here. I wasn't planning on going back to teaching. And then I started praying about it because I think I want to work again, because I'm not fulfilled just sitting at home. It's too boring for me. I cannot sit and just watch TV all day. I've gained some pounds. I'm just miserable. So I started praying about it, and God's, somebody called me from a local gallery. Hey, do you want to run our kids program? I saw online that you did blah, blah, blah. I'm like, heck yeah, I do. When can I start? I'll be there in 5 minutes, And so God kind of provides for you, I think, when you become honest and willing and open-minded.
I agree 100%. No, but that's great, Lori. And that's just I think that's a perfect place for us to end our time. I think that, well, I know it goes so fast, but we're already at that time. But here's the takeaway for me, Lori, and how even from the first time we were together and this time. So God speaks to you in so many ways, how he orchestrates things, the people at AA. He gives you gifts and talents, and you feel like you need to be a good steward of that. So you do the things that you need to do, right? And so, we have a comment about, perseverance, and that you have to be able to persevere in order to grow. Well, that's easy to say, but it's not always easy for people to do, especially if there's an addiction, especially if people are in incredibly challenging situations. And so to have faith and to be able to to pray and trust and know that God is there for you to guide you and help you and lead you along the way, and that all is well.
Mm-hmm.
That's not always easy, but it's the thing that has worked in my life, and as we hear, it's the thing that's worked in yours as well.
Ask God for help, and God help will appear. That's the one thing I do know.
That's beautiful. Well, wonderful. Lori, do you have
Sorry,
one closing thing to say to our viewers?
That's that. I mean, if you're struggling with anything, ask God for help first, and then be open to see what comes your way. Be
That's,
willing.
that's beautiful. And we won't forget how, right?
That's
Be
right.
honest,
Honest, open.
be honest, be open, and willing.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. Thank you, Lori. And thank you to all of you who agreed to come on and kick off our weekend together. I love that you were here, and I'm looking forward to you flowing well through your weekend and through your week. For those of you who have seniors who are graduating, congratulations. How awesome. And I look forward to seeing you again next week on Friday Flow. Bye.